Hey guys, King Trash here, video judge, your jury, and your analyst, and today I bring to you my top 5 Pokemon for the early game in Scarlet and Violet. These top 5 are great Pokemon to pick up early on, and you can keep them, or they will do very well for you in the late game as well. However, before we get started with these top 5 Pokemon you can pick up in the early game for Scarlet and Violet, if you are new or if you are here to return, this is my therapist mental health tip of the day. I am an associate marriage family therapist registered in California and on my way to becoming a licensed marriage family therapist and one of the less than 1% mental health professionals in the world. And I start off with these things called therapist mental health tips. And they usually come from this place called Psych Central. It's a great place where every single article is reviewed by either a mental health professional, licensed mental health professional, or a scientific board, etc. So, this one's going to be all changed. I'm going to move over from Pokemon Go PvP a lot to Scarlet and Violet. So, am I anxious about it? Not really. Am I excited for it? Absolutely. But what's the best way to affect change? According to Psych Central, this article is, there is a best way to start change, and and the best way to do that is get started with a plan. I already planned to move over to Scarlet and Violet, so I wasn't really anxious or anything like that. I knew what I wanted to do, and yes, you kind of don't know what you want to do after you write down that list of whatever you want to do for content, but it's necessary. Once you cast aside beliefs that may have held you back in the past and resolve to move forward with determination and enthusiasm, you still need a plan. So a plan is still necessary if you want to invoke change. So definitely read this article. If you are looking to change something in your life or change your mindset, this is definitely some article you want to take up. This is definitely an article you want to take a look at, and it has some great advice to do so for not just life in general, but also your mental health as well, and to make sure those conditions are healthy for you. Without further ado, this is my top 5 early Pokemon you can obtain in Scarlet and Violet that will do wonders for you throughout the game or in the late game until you want to replace them with better mons, or if you want to keep these, they're great as well. And without further ado, let's get started. Alright, first off we have Fletching, the tiny robin Pokemon. Now, this Pokemon isn't actually really hard to find at all. You'll find plenty of them in, like, mass outbreaks everywhere throughout the match, and they're usually in groups. So, even early on and throughout, even when you don't have your Coldalion or your riding Pokemon, etc., as you see, you'll find them literally everywhere in groups of 5. And there's multiple, if you can't find them, it's literally right outside of Los Platos, and all you have to do is, here they are right here. Now, Fletching is a great Pokemon. As you see, it's fairly easy to beat. They'll start out around level 5, so you can easily weaken them. Or if you're at the higher levels, you can easily just chuck Pokeballs, or if you have access to Great Balls, they're pretty easy to find there. Now, the thing about Fletching is that it is a very common Pokemon. Again, there's no way you can miss this thing. They're literally, like, everywhere. If you're having trouble, go ahead and look at the Pokedex, and it will show you a giant, like, all these squares of where you can find them. Or just literally run around like a chicken with your head cut off, and you will find it. Fletching is a normal and flying type Pokemon. Not really useful early on, but once it evolves, it gets fire and flying. It evolves to Talonflame at level 35. It has super high speed and balanced stats. Again, I said it's easy to encounter, and it's great for the grass gym. It's a great fire type Pokemon if you don't pick Fuecoco as your starter type. Now, the only cons is it has pretty low base stats until it evolves into Fletchinder at level 17, and it's a pretty replaceable mon in the late game. However, Talonflame is an incredibly powerful Pokemon. Again, high speed, balanced stats. You don't pick Fuecoco. This is an early great fire type for you to pick up for Scarlet and Violet. Next up at number 4, we have Paldean Wooper. Wooper originally originated in Johto all the way back in Generation 2, and now for the new Scarlet and Violet game, there is a new version as the Poison Fish Pokemon. You can literally find this outside of Los Platos. You go outside, you look at the pond, and they're like sitting right here. You can either find them out there on shore, or if you have them in the pond, just go ahead and throw your Pokeball at it, and boom, you have your Mond, and you will engage in battle. Paldean Wooper is really easy to catch. If you have access to Great Balls, it usually will go down in one shot. Otherwise, weaken a little bit and then go ahead and throw a Pokeball. But again, really easy to find. You won't have much difficulty finding this it's actually a very strong mon, where the normal Johto typing is water ground type. This one is very unique, as in a poison and ground type. And it evolves into this really interesting thing called Clodsire, and it's freaking adorable. I love its design so much. And it evolves really early at level 20. Again, it evolves into Clodsire, a new version of Quagsire, which literally looks like it's sprawled out on 4 legs and it wants to take a nap, and I highly approve of it. It has incredible defense, high HP, and it has a good attack stat. Its great typing in poison and ground makes it really good against both the grass and the electric gyms early on. Now, the two problems about it is that Paldean Wooper is actually hella slow, and it's pretty replaceable in the late game. Unless you use TMs, it also has a pretty awful moveset, so that's the thing, but it's still very powerful. For number 3, we have Flamigo, the Synchronoise Pokemon, literally based off of a flamingo, and one of the laziest names I've ever seen Pokemon ever do. You know what? It's what it is. But it's really easy to find them. Literally near every body of water, you will see these things in the early game. And they are super hard to miss. If you've ever seen a flamingo, guess what? Take away the N and you have Flamigo. Now, Flamigo is actually a pretty interesting mon in the fact that it's actually a pretty strong pickup in the early game. You might not think it's actually that useful. However, for Flamigo, if you look at the summary after you catch one, it actually has access to double kick. This is really great later on because when you go up the mountains near the grass and the electric gyms, you will find many Pokemon that will be weak to double kick and to wing attack, which Flamigo learns later on. So it's a great mon to allow you to gain XP for those XP pools. It has high attack and speed, and like I mentioned, access to double kick, and it's a powerful sweeper mon. And I already mentioned about the XP areas which it does well in. The cons is it doesn't evolve, and it looks really freaking basic. Like, I have to, yeah, its design is terrible, but you know what? It's still really great early on for Scarlet and Violet. Alright, number 2, we have Ghastly, the gas Pokemon. The ever-popular Generation 1 Pokemon. If you were born in the 90s or if you watched Generation 1, guess what? Ghastly was part of your childhood as well as mine. Now, to find Ghastly, it's literally at these ruins. If you open the map, they're around the edge, and it's a little ways far from Los Platos. But if you go all the way down here, you will easily find a mass outbreak of Ghastly. They usually appear at night. However, I found this cluster in the morning as well. So all you have to do is go all the way down here next to these ruins, and then you can find these Ghastly. Ghastly are really easy to catch. Usually you can weaken it a little bit, but if you want, one Pokeball will usually be enough, as you see here, to catch. And this floating animation glitch is absolutely freaking hilarious. So yes, Ghastly is an incredibly powerful mon. Unfortunately, one of the cons about it is that you won't be able to evolve it into a Gengar, and I'll explain that later. But as you see, it's a Ghost and Poison Pokemon. Very useful, especially for the first gym, which is a grass Pokemon gym. And it is really powerful still as a Haunter. It doesn't need to be a Gengar to be really effective for you on your team. Now, the thing about Gengar is, as a Haunter, it has a great typing, like I mentioned, Poison and Ghost. Great for the grass-type gym in the beginning. And it has really high special attack and speed. However, because of that, the cons are it's a glorified glass cannon. Glass cannons have high attack and guess what? Very low bulk. So they're not going to take a ton of damage. But they can dish it out a lot and possibly sweep the unholy crap out of your opponent. And the other thing is, it can evolve into Gengar unless it's via trade. It evolves in Haunter at level 25, but you can't evolve it fully into Gengar, which is pretty sad, unfortunately. And it is also replaceable late game. You can find better Ghost-type Pokemon later in the game. And for now, it can pick that Ghost-type spot. Or if you just really love Haunter, this Pokemon is for you in Scarlet and Violet early on. And at number 1, we have Ralts. Wait, you can get a Ralts in the early game? Yup, you can. The thing about it is, however, it's very rare. Unless you follow this video, then you're going to find it very quick. Well, not really quickly. It might take you a few minutes, but yes, you can get Ralts. The Feeling Pokemon, one of the most popular Generation 3 Pokemon. It has a really sweet shiny, and if you want a shiny hunt, it's actually really feasible. Right next to Los Platos, as you see here, you see Ralts' silhouette. It is literally right next to Los Platos. You can easily just run back and forth and reset its spawn. And I don't think you'll get lost, but hey, you know what? You might. So, as you see here, if you don't see it right away, it'll usually be next to this kid right here, this trainer. or it'll be running around and around the edge of the pond. So just go around if you can't see it, or like I mentioned, it might be next to that kid. If you don't encounter it, just go all the way back to Los Platos and then run back into the spawn. So as you see, I'm going back into Los Platos, and I'm just taking a quick U-turn, and then we're going to go back into Los Platos. And you just go ahead and scour through, go ahead and scan over the entire area again, take a look and see if you can find it. Just do a quick lap around the pond, right here, and if you can't find it outside here, like I mentioned to you, it's usually next to that kid. In this instance, I am completely blind, and I don't see the Ralts because the message bubble that was on top was blocking it. And as you see, there's Ralts right there. This kid's having a whole combo with the freaking kid, yo. And I think it's his Pokemon, and then I'm like, wait a minute, no, that can't be it. And it's the actual spawn. So yes, you can find Ralts over here. Again, it'll be either on around the corners of the lake, or it'll be right next to this kid. In this case, the kid super debated me into thinking that it's his Pokemon, but then I remember the kid doesn't have their Pokemon out like next to their buddy unless they're in like the city. So yes, you can find Ralts here. If you want to shiny hunt it, that's great. Ralts shiny is really sweet, and if I wasn't trying to make a lot of content for Scarlet and Violet, I'm definitely going to do some shiny hunting later on for Ralts. A powerful Psychic and Fairy Pokemon, this thing is incredibly strong. It evolves into two different type of Pokemon, Gardevoir as well as Gallade. For Guard, it evolves there actually pretty early. It'll evolve into Curlia at level 20 and then into Gardevoir at level 30. And both versions are incredibly powerful. For Gallade, it must be a male and you must have a Dawnstone. However, both versions are really strong with great typing and a strong all-around strong late game. Once you have a Gallade or a Guard, they are both incredibly powerful. Now the cons is that Ralts itself has very low base stats. It's not really useful until it evolves in a Curlia at level 20, and it's, like I mentioned, it's a very rare spawn, so it might take you a few minutes of running back and forth until you actually find it, but I promise you it's worth it. It's part of my team, and it's a great mon early on for Scarlet and Violet. If Ralts is one of your favorite mons like mine, it's definitely a great pickup early on for the early game for Scarlet and Violet, like I mentioned. And that's game. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. I hope you all enjoyed these top 5 picks. They're really good early on, and if you get them, they can be really powerful for your team for the late game. Put them on your team, go ahead and level them up, and later on they will become beasts for you, and they're great early pickups for the rest of Scarlet and Violet. This is my very first Scarlet and Violet video. I'm looking forward to making more content on it. I'm having a whole lot of fun with it, and I can't stop playing. I'm so happy I have Thanksgiving week off so that I could do nothing but play Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and get all these ideas and start making content for the game. So I'm really, really excited to dive into something new. Outside of what I usually do, which is Pokemon Go PvP, but other than that, I will be doing a lot more Scarlet and Violet for the foreseeable future, and I don't think I'm ever going to get tired of this game for a very, very long time until next generation comes out. But do you a huge favor, if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and comment. I'll be putting out a lot more stuff on here. If you have any ideas or things you would like to see, please put it in the comments. Really do appreciate every single one of y'all. Make sure y'all take care of yourselves. And, as I always say, good luck on your well, actually, no, it's actually new. This is a new saying I have. Good luck on your Scarlet and Violet adventure, and I will see y'all on the next video.
That I made, all the things that I have craved, these are what I could have saved.